Hello and welcome back to McClaren Performance for an episode today where I thought I'd try and predict the top half of the Premier League table next season. Who is going to make the top half? Who's going to make European football? Who's going to make top four? And ultimately, what we all want to know, who's going to win the league? I've been busy the past few days. Just yesterday, did an interview for the podcast that'll be coming out next week, and I'll keep it secret who that is. But I think probably a good opportunity to say, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to everything so you can keep up to date. I'll let everyone know who I am interviewing, who the episode's going to be about. That is coming out next Wednesday. So that's a good opportunity. Subscribe to McClaren Performance and then you'll see that video pop up next week. But yeah, because I've been busy, I haven't had much time to plan for an episode this week. And I thought we've been talking so much psychology and so much serious stuff anyway. I thought it'd be good to do a more fun episode looking into what a lot of YouTubers and people do, which is predicting what the Premier League table is going to be. I'm not going to do the bottom half because I think I may do that in the future. I might do a bit more research on clubs that have just been promoted because I don't know too much about that. But I think in terms of top half of the table, to be fair, that's what we're more interested in anyway. And I got a few things to say about different clubs and things like that. So I've put a little top 10 table together. To be fair, when I've been putting it together, sometimes it's a bit, logically that's where a team's going to be. And other times I thought, I hope a team is actually going to be there and I put them there instead. You'll see as we go along, it gets stranger as you go further up. But yeah, let's start off with number 10. Who is going to finish 10th in the league? Oh, this isn't going to stand up at all. This is the team that's going to finish 10th. First team I've picked is Leicester. For no particular reason. They finished 8th last season. I've not seen much as to them bolstering the squad that they already have. I love Brendan Rodgers as a manager. I think he's done really well at Leicester. But there are a lot of teams in that top 10 who are building and building on last season as well. And I don't see Leicester particularly doing that. They have those attacking options in Maddison, in Barnes. They have Tielemans, and rumours kind of suggest that he'll be moving on. So there's not much reliance on him. They have Vardy, and I always look at Vardy, I think, some season he's not going to be scoring the same as he was before. He's getting on a lot in age, and Leicester do have a lot of reliance on him and the goals that he brings. Is he going to be scoring again just as much next season? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, 10th for them. That's not too bad. It's not too negative on them. I think it's pretty similar to where they finished last season. And maybe, and hopefully, they'll probably just keep that consistency that they have. Right, in 9th place, who's finishing 9th next season, the team, for me, is Brighton. I really like Brighton. Specifically, I really like Graham Potter, to be fair, as a manager. And the culture he's built at Brighton. Having so much consistency with no real big names at all within the team. I think they are consistently getting a little bit better every season. Brighton actually had a period last season where they lost 6 games on the bounce. But actually towards the end of the season, they had really consistent results, which is quite interesting for them. They finished similar to Leicester, just at the top end of that 50 to 40 point range, which, to be fair, the majority of the Premier League table within that middle part was within that range. It was quite close. It seems like Brighton just pipped it at the end there with the good results that they had. I'm hoping, and again, this is where my table comes a bit more of an optimistic look. I like what they're doing. I like the work they're doing. I like Graham Potter. I'd like them to continue finishing in the top half of the table. So, 9th place for them. Yeah, I'd like that. This is actually quite fun. I can see why YouTubers actually do it. You don't have to think too much. You're just like, right, they're going to finish there. Why not? Then you don't have to worry about it. It's just a nice little dream world to live in. And then coming in at 8th in this little dream world league that I've come up with, I've gone with Newcastle, just missing out on European football, which is probably not something that Newcastle fans want to hear, but I think it is a realistic and I think quite an optimistic look. Of course, they did incredibly well towards the back end of last season, and for that reason I can understand why fans and pundits really would expect Newcastle to get European football, and of course this is my made up table, they might actually do that. It's just, I think there's one thing having a good run towards the back end of a season, and then the actual reality of fighting for a top position, within the top 7, top 6, and the actual managing of expectations within that. It might be an episode I do anyway, because I'm quite interested in Eddie Howe and his perception, and the perception people have of him as a manager at the moment. Yes, I think he's a very good manager. He's done well for Bournemouth and doing well for Newcastle now, but is he a manager that can take a team to European football? It's quite different being a manager of a bottom half club, and slowly Newcastle really, and actually this season, is a top half of the table club, and that is a different job with different egos and these big players coming in. Yes, it's likely, I think they could get European football, but just for this example, I've just put them just below. Coming in at 7th place, a kind of boring option there, is West Ham, who finished 7th last season as well. I think 6th or 7th is the actual Europa Conference League. That's how you get into that, depending on who wins the FA Cup as well. So it's not entirely guaranteed that 7th place is that, but I think West Ham will get it anyway. I like David Moyes as a manager. I like what they're building at West Ham. I think they'll consistently stay within there. I can't see them getting above clubs that are ahead of them in the top 6. There's just so much money in there and so much structure within those teams already that I can't see them building on from last season and getting into those places. I think they also have European football this season as well, which is always a bit of a drag when you want to perform within the league as well. So even that's quite optimistic, I think, for them coming 7th. Coming in at 6th place, and I have no idea how I'm going to argue this. This just happens to be what my table is. I've got Spurs coming in at 6th place. I think a lot of talk around Spurs is how well they did last season, getting top 4. Players are bringing in now like Richarlison and Bissouma, and Conte just being such a winning manager. There's so much momentum behind them in that sense to get into top 4, maybe challenge the top 3 as well. My reasoning for putting them in 6th is very limited. There's clubs that are above that. I think that top 6 is really competitive for one. I think within that top 6, it's so hard to predict. Aside from maybe the top 2, I think we saw it last season. Within that area, it was quite a mix up until the end of the season. I think despite how much Spurs put in with their manager and Richarlison coming in as well, they can't compete with the likes of Man City and Liverpool. It might also be the case that the work that Conte is putting in now and the changes that are happening is something that will come into fruition later down the line, maybe the season after or the season after that. It's about keeping consistent with them and not having such, expecting such short-term changes and results. They also have Champions League to play as well, and again, that European football, I think, has a difference in how you play within the league. Do they have the squad to be able to support a Premier League and a Champions League campaign as well? I'm not entirely sure. I think 6th is a bit harsh, but I have arguments for other teams and teams that I want to get into the top 4. So that's where they're sitting now. So up next, my team that I think will come 5th and just miss out on Champions League football is again a weird choice that I don't think people are going to agree with. I've put Chelsea there at 5th. I do like Chelsea. I do like what they're doing. They had a bit of an inconsistent season last season. They should have built on what they did in terms of winning the Champions League and doing better in the table, and they didn't do that last season. Of course, they had troubles with ownership at that time and restrictions in that sense. But that also makes me kind of pessimistic about their upcoming season as well. They've just signed Sterling, which, yes, I think will add to their attacking options, and that's a good thing. But new ownership and new change is always a bit of a nightmare. And kind of famously, Chelsea don't keep managers for so long. I don't think Tuchel's quite proven himself last season, and he has to do really well this season to prove himself again. They lost Lukaku and really didn't utilise him last season, and as of yet haven't really found a replacement for that. Don't quite have that striker, if I'm thinking right. So there's a few things there that puts doubt in my mind as to how they will do. They still have great players and a great squad, and everything like that. But a lot of teams in the top six do now. A lot of teams with a lot more organisation, a lot more structure, are being more consistent, and Chelsea can't afford the similar sort of slip-ups they had last season. They can't afford to have that again. Just looking at the table last season, I was really disappointed how Chelsea performed, because they should have built on what they had. And I don't expect them, say, to finish above Liverpool and City, but at least to be close. Looking at the table, they were almost 20 points away, 19 points away from City, who won the league. And for them, and the depth of squad that they have and the money that they have to spend, they should be really close to that. And to me, it just looks like they're on a bit of a downward trajectory. Then again, I'll eat my words when they do all right. Right, this is the interesting bit, and you probably know by now what sort of clubs I'm looking at in terms of the top four. Coming in at fourth place, and this is arguably optimistic, is Arsenal. I like what they did last season, the campaign they had there. They just missed out towards the end. I was there that game at Newcastle where they just didn't seem to have anything about them, and I'd really put that down to that lack of experience and where they are in terms of their path to actually getting top four. I think it looked to me players that were fighting for top four but didn't really feel like they deserved it, feel like they owned it before they had it. It's a thing I always talk about in football. Sometimes you got to go in with that belief that it's yours, and it's really ingrained within you that, right, this is my top four position, and if we don't get it, it's being stolen from us. They seem to be much more striving to reach that top four. I think after that experience, they'll be looking now to say, we are a top four team, and missing out on that this season would, well, for one, in terms of Arteta as a manager of Arsenal, would he be able to carry on his career? I really like Arteta and what he's doing, so again, it's almost an optimistic choice. I want them to finish in that top four so they can carry on building what they're doing. I think they made a great signing in Jesus, a player that is experienced within the top four of football, experienced within a top club in Man City, and his experience coming in, and will most likely be starting every game, will be scoring hopefully the same numbers that he achieved at City. That's the one player they needed, was a striker, because with regards to the rest of the starting 11, it's a very good team and they work very well together. It's one of those where they monetarily and with regards to talent, not unbelievable at Arsenal, but with what they're building in terms of the environment and everything I like psychologically, it's something I can really get on board with. And I'm optimistic, and I'm hoping that results in them having a top four finish. Right, take a guess who I think is going to finish third in the league this season. I've obviously gone for Man United. I think, and you could think I'm quite biased in my opinion, but I think they're quite underrated this season with what they're going to do because of what has happened last season. I think they've made a good signing recently in Malaysia, a good defensive option again to compete with the rest in that starting 11. There's rumours of Martinez coming in as of recording, as well as De Jong. Those rumours have been around for a while now, and hopefully that will get over the line. It's a good addition. As many Man United fans continue to tell me all the time, even though I have nothing to do with it, yeah, they need a strong midfielder choice, and they will be getting that in De Jong most likely. They have had Fred and McTominay for a while now, and it would be nice to be mixing up those options a bit more, and that would add a bit of depth to the squad as well. I like the additions that they're making. I like the direction the club is now taking from what I've seen and heard from many areas. I think they will do well. I think maybe it's optimistic of me to say they will be getting third, but a realistic challenge for them is to make it into the top four this season. Not quite, and I can't imagine them above Man City or Liverpool unless Liverpool drop in their standards a little bit. But top 4 for me, that's a realistic option. Of course, they also hired the best coach in the world in Steve McClaren, and I'm sure it'll be transforming those players into something unbelievable. So, top 4, of course, with the McClaren effect. Right, and that leaves us with our top 2 between Man City and Liverpool. As hinted at a little bit before there, it's Liverpool, I think, that will come in second. No matter what they do, and they have bolstered really well with regards to Nunes and Diaz as well in there, coming in last season. Those attacking options are even better. And the great team they do have, there's always that Man City that do equally what they do, but with greater expenses and ability to bring in more players and bigger squads as well. It's very difficult to choose between them, and once the season starts, you just don't know. Man City could slip up and Liverpool could take advantage of that. But historically, Liverpool are second to Man City, and I think that'll just be the case again this season. I think Man City have done really well again in the transfer window. It's not even over yet. Haaland up front, they needed a striker. They didn't even need one because they won the league anyway. But now they have a striker in Haaland who, by the sounds of it, is just going to land straight on his feet coming into the Premier League and start running. He'll be absolutely fine by the sounds of it. And they have Calvin Phillips as well, bolstering their midfield. It's looking really, really good for them. And for Liverpool as well. And I always think with Liverpool, they do incredibly well to have no real injuries and not a lot of injuries to their team. That season, 2 seasons ago maybe, where they had a lot of injuries and you could see the difference that made, as they didn't really have the squad to support that lack of defence when they had those injuries in defence. But they seem to keep players going and seem to not have those injuries. And with that, they have a starting 11 that is so strong throughout the entire season. They do so well. It's just, will it be enough to take on Man City? For Man City, really, yeah, Premier League is another thing they want to achieve. For them, they want the Champions League, really. That's the thing they should be doing, and that is their focus. It's got to be their focus this season. That's what Haaland's in for. You're going to score goals in that Champions League. So yeah, that is my guess at what the top half of the table might look like. I imagine a lot of people disagreeing with it, and that's quite understandable. But you just don't know what's going to happen. I can't wait for the end of next season. I probably could wait. It'd be nice to wait for the end of next season. We'll have to look at those options I've made there and look at the reality at the end of the season. I imagine it might be a bit far off, but it's what I'd like to see. And to be fair, it's probably a good opportunity for you lot to comment and let me know what you think the top half of the table is going to be. If you think I'm really wrong, which is understandable, tell me what you think it's going to be. And you'd probably be right. You probably have some good, valid points. It really is just a mystery, especially until you see those first 3, 4, 5 games as well. Like I said at the start of the video, make sure you look out for the interview that I'm doing next week. I'll let you know who it is, and then we'll get into more detail what we'll talk about, and then the episode will come out on Wednesday. It was a really, really good interview, and I actually really can't wait to put it out. It's something that I want to do a lot more of, is get guests on this podcast. It's just I'm a nightmare at organising things. But hopefully it's something I can do more of, and I'm sure it's something that you lot want to see as well, not just me rambling on all the time. But yeah, thank you for watching and listening. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, I can't believe I'm saying this. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you listen on Spotify or on Apple, on Google, there's an option there to give a rating. You can give a 5-star rating if you like. As far as I'm aware, all we've got is 5-star at the moment. If you give us anything less, I'm going to come and find you wherever you are. I'm doing a lot of these episodes and videos now and interviews and stuff, and it's something, if I want to take it seriously, I need your help. I need your support to do these things. It really does help and builds this into something that can actually work, which I really want to do. I'm really enjoying doing this. So if you could help in any way, that would be fantastic. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week for more of McClaren Performance.